एकम अक्षरम हृदि निरंतरम भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्। हृदयकुहर मध्ये केवलं मात्रम् यहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलतरो आत्मनिष्ठो देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव भावयुत उतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses of Anma bodham, Atma bodha. We have been taking the verses from the Tamil translation by Bhagavan. We have entered the segment where Adi Shankarar is delineating the path of jnana. So in these verses 16 to 30 or so, we'll be getting gems, we'll be getting clues, some of which we may find more meaningful to us, as it could, some pointers could be more meaningful to some others could be to yet another person. So each one of us can listen to these pointers along with looking at the whole set of verses, the 15 verses or so, as the Jnana Marga, we could also be looking for certain things which act as anchor for us. Certain things which we identify with, this should be so. My own findings are very easily corroborated and supported by the Adi Guru, by the Jagat Guru Adi Shankara. And let me take these hints, could be our approach, along with looking at the 15 verses or so as the Jnana Marga itself. So we have seen in the last time that we met, the last verse we left with was Udal Panchakosha Umiyadi Ode Utchudar Parisuddha Anmave Didamana Uttinal Kutti ஒழித்தவற்றை அரிசி ஒத்து அறிய வேண்டும் உணர்வுள்ளே. We had seen that the Jnana Marga could be seen as the previous verse being the Panchakoshas, the description of the Panchakoshas. The verse number 16 was to free the Swarupa, to free oneself or one's true nature from the husk being the Panchakoshas is what we saw. And we had referred to the Appala part, which is the essence of the Jnana Marga that we all identify with, the Atma Vicharam. So that verse number 16 was akin to the Appala part. Appala part, of course, goes into much deeper details about the self-enquiry itself. But this is akin to that in the sense that the husk removal was mentioned. That is the removing of the husk from the arisi. Especially the arisi was referred to because even when the husk is there, the paddy and the rice inside is said to be free of that. Unlike certain other skins which are attached to the kernel or the basic grain itself, here even when the paddy is there, once it's dried up, the skin is practically free, and some tapping or some method is used nowadays, mechanized, to remove that. Similarly, the attachment of the awareness to these 5 spectacles, the lenses we wear to perceive the reality, which distorts the reality. So to remove those spectacles or to remove that husk was the verse number 16. We very much identify that as a Jnana Marga delineation. We are going to see 2 more verses today, verse number 17 and verse number 18, which will not only take us further in the Jnana Marga, but also give us pointers, as I said, which may interest us in holding on to, in furthering our depth of sadhana. Let us take the 17th verse. எங்குமே என்றும் இருப்பினும் ஆன்மாவும் எங்குமே ஆன்மா இலகலில்லை துங்கமாம் புத்தியிலேயே பொலியு நிழல் சொச்சமாம் வஸ்துவில் தோன்றும் வகையா. So where do we find the Atma? In what place do we find the Atma? Is the question taken up. So I was just discussing it with my mother, and she immediately caught that it is in the, at the end of the description, she caught when I asked her the question, that it is in the pure intellect, buddhi, the pure buddhi or the sharp buddhi, that the Atma is, or Atma's reflection is felt, says the verse. Engume endrum irupinum. Engume is in all places and throughout the body. See, now that we have come to Panchakosha and removal of the husk and all that, then we can understand that these specks, if they are removed, then the world vision, the reality being seen as a sensory world, as an emotional world, as a thought-based world, as a world of ethics and good and bad, as a world of knowing your persona. Am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Am I playing this role or that role? All those various koshas, various specks that we wear, since we have come to that point that the world removal happens if you just remove the specks or if you remove the husk. So therefore, let us look at this verse itself. Yengume yendrum irupinum, we can say that throughout the body. Because the body is addressed properly and the upadhi is removed, the world drops. There is a Christian mystic who says that if the jiva detaches itself from its shells, God will remove his shells. That is, there seem to be not only the upadhi of the individual, but the universal upadhi, like time, like place. These are upadhis which the whole of cosmos seems to have. And the mystic says, if you do your part of freeing yourself from your upadhis, then the Ishvara will remove the universal upadhis for you. Therefore, we can, in that manner also, we are to focus on our task. Our task being detaching ourselves from our various shade spectacles we have. We have blue color, we have red color, we have various color shades. We have about 5 spectacles, says Bhagwan, through which we see reality as different worlds. Engume, endrum, irupinum. Endrum, all the time, the Atma is present. Engume means throughout the body it's present, throughout the world it's present. But we are not going to take the world vision. World vision is gone in the verses between 7 and 15. And the world was indicated to be nothing but the Atma Swarupa. Gradually, with various metaphors, the Acharya has brought us that the world is nothing but the Atma Swarupa. So now, we can now focus on how to come to the Atma Swarupa with reference to the spectacles only, with reference to the various koshas we have. So, engume means throughout the body. Endrum, all the time. Irupinum exists, the Atma. It exists, Atma exists throughout the body and all the time. But Yengume Anma ilagavilli. Though it is existing as omnipresent, we are not able to feel it anywhere or at any time. That the experience of the self is not there anywhere at any time. We are not able to see it at all. So I was discussing that why these people used to hesitate to touch and keep away from touching in those days, because obviously the touch is such a coarse sensation that how can we feel God through that? That the eyes see at least 20 feet away or 30 feet away. The touch has to go there and come in contact with that surface, and then it feels whether it is hard or soft. How can such a limited sensation reveal the limitless self? Therefore, the people would deliberately keep away from that, and that itself was misunderstood and when carried out blindly for that purpose alone, not forgetting that it was to focus on how to see the God's presence, how to see the Atma Swarupa in us, where to see. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say that though the milk is supposed to be present all through the body of the mother cow, we human beings can access it only in a particular place. Similarly, though God is present everywhere, we can access it only in that place where we are sensitive, where we are able to touch it. And where is that sensitivity? Where is that sensitivity is what the Acharya is saying. Tungamam buddhile podliyum. The Atma Swarupa will shine in the sharp, pure intellect. In the intellect, it will shine. Bhagavan, of course, goes one step further. Where does the Atma Swarupa shine? In Bhagavan's teachings, the Atma Swarupa shines when the ego is still. Summa iru. When we ask, who am I? And still the I thought. The I thought being the first thought, after the rise of which only all other thoughts, all other emotions, all other koshas, all other worlds arise. Only after the I thought arises, everything arises. All the spectacles we get, all the worlds seen through the various spectacles, we get when? Only after the rise of the I thought. And within that I thought is the Akanda Atma Swarupa. So the I thought itself has to be stilled in practice. Summa iru. When we still the I thought, for which the other proclivities, the impulses, the vasanas have to be completely effaced. Because till the vasanas are effaced, the I will be going after those. So when they are effaced, then the I thought is still, and one can feel the Atma Swarupa going as I. Now, what is the Acharya saying? The Acharya is saying is that still the ego indirectly, which is what the Vipassana meditation and Buddhist meditation also does. What do I mean by that? I'm not casting any aspersions on those methods, but they are indirect stilling of the I. Because that practice also somehow I have had to undergo sometime earlier. The ego is still there also, but not directly. It is still because the intellect is silent. How is that done? It's very interesting. Is that, see, the other koshas, as T.M.P. Mahadevan sir says, the Annamaya kosha, the Pranamaya kosha, the Manomaya kosha are all permeated by the Vijnanamaya kosha. It is not only that, each subtle kosha permeates the earlier. Like the Annamaya kosha is permeated by Pranamaya kosha. That is how pranayama, when somebody does even bedridden for 10-15 years, they do pranayama, that inner body, the prana body, it heals the Annamaya kosha. It brings a relatively better health to the Annamaya kosha. We can see that happening, and many teachers use that to bring better health to the Annamaya kosha. Now, we see that each inner kosha permeates the outer. Now, therefore, the Vijnanamaya kosha, which is inner to even Manomaya kosha, it permeates the Manomaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, and Annamaya kosha. So, how do they indirectly still the ego? That when the Annamaya kosha and its world, the Pranamaya kosha and its world, the Manomaya kosha and its world are perceived without like and dislike, without right and wrong, without judgment in the present moment, then the intellect frees itself from all those koshas. Please hold on to this. We are going to use this in the next verse also. In the verse number 18, that what I used to do when I was introduced to this practice in 2003, I was introduced to this practice of stilling the intellect and the ego being indirectly stilled. When the intellect is stilled, one frees oneself of Annamaya kosha and the world, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha. How this happens is very interesting. The teacher I was following had taught that can you look at what you are listening? That means an input from the sensory world, whatever you are listening, can you listen to it without judging, without saying it is right or wrong, good or bad? Can you do that? Whatever you are seeing in the sensory world, can you look at it without judging as good or bad in the present moment? Now, somehow I took to that practice like fish to water. The first day I listened to that practice, I could easily apply it. That is the freeing, the removing of the husk of Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha through purifying the intellect. Now, that happened very easily somehow. We can't say how, but the first day I listened to that practice and I just took to that practice like anything, dropped everything like hot coals and came off to this. The first day I started doing that, I could see that this is what is the key to my own journey in spirituality, because things started revealing themselves very fast. That is, purifying the intellect frees you from the sensory world, from the breath world, from the mano. Because the practice I used to do was, he used to say that you start with the sensory world, that is seeing and listening. But when you when you walk in the park, and when you can look at the happenings there, the good and the bad, without remarking, without jumping, without aversion, then you are able to see the butterflies, you are able to see things as they are. Like your mind is not carrying you away, and then you are able to observe the thoughts. When you are free of the sensory world, you are able to see the subtler world of your own thoughts, and you start looking at them also without right or wrong. Why this thought came? Hey, why am I such a bad person? These thoughts should not come. Why am I getting these thoughts? Instead of those things, just observe. Just observe those thoughts without like or dislike. That means the intellect is sharp and not moving into the two modes of right and wrong. It is not dividing the consciousness in that flow chart. It is not dividing as right and wrong, good and bad. Then all the earlier worlds, they drop away, and the Atma Swarupa gets reflected in the as I have shared with you, when that stilling of the intellect was there, once there was complete breakthrough of the of the ego, and there was a surge of happiness, causeless happiness from within, and I understood that this causeless happiness is the is the reality that I have been looking for, and that is an intuitive understanding, because that reality itself teaches that, oh, this is what you are looking for. And I got into the understanding that I am not going to completely understand that in the method I was following, in the method of purifying the intellect. And that is when Who Am I came in. Who Am I, you can understand now, is a direct stilling of the ego. It does not even stop at the intellectual kosha and indirectly stop the ego. It directly stops the ego, and the Atmaspurana is directly, Atmaswarupa is directly felt. But having gone through this, let us look at the verse again. Engume endrum irupinum Anma, Engume Anma, Anmavum, Engume Anma ilagalile. So it is not felt by us anywhere or at any time. Where it is felt, Tungamam Buddhile, in that refined intellect, in that sharp, pure intellect, Polium Nidal Suchamam Vastuvil Tondrum Vagayam. How in a disturbance-free surface of water, the tube light you can see very clearly. Like there is this tiles here, it has been cleaned, relatively cleaned, and I can see the tube light's reflection on it very clearly. But suppose there was lot of dust there, then it cannot be seen. Similarly, if the intellect is having lot of dust, lot of anxiety, then the Atma Swarupa cannot be felt in such an intellect. Now let's come to some stunning revelations in Bhagavan, that in Bhagavan, it is said that there are many devotees who have felt the Atmaspurana in the right side of the chest. Forget about the pure intellect. That in the Jnani, who is now absorbed in that Atmaswarupa, the Yengume Endrum, there is that feeling that everywhere the self can be felt. The throb of the self could be felt on the right side of the chest of Bhagavan, it is said. And there are many people, many devotees who have felt it with their hands. This Purana, they have felt it with their hands. And the noting in the talks is that if it can be felt by the hand, then can it not be felt by the pure intellect? So now how this works, now it is impossible to describe that such purity as in Bhagavan, that the whole being is throbbing, that God was radiating terrifically out of him, says Humphreys. Now what is that? What kind of pure being? As an innocent 16-year-old boy, when God takes over, what happens to such a body? It is impossible to look at those things. But this is what happens, that when the jnani gets absorbed in the, then it's not only in the pure, the mind is full of that Atma Swarupa, the prana, the indriyas. The indriyas are all suffused with that happiness, that they can see nothing but that happiness. As many of the devotees vouchsafe, when the Nama takes over and fills them from within, they can see only Rama, only the bliss of Rama on the outside, because all their specs, all their lenses have been completely inundated by the Atma Swarupa, completely covered, completely absorbed in that they can see nothing but Atma Swarupa. Somebody may be saying, why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? When is this going to? Nothing. All the time, everything is the Atma Swarupa only. In such a one, we have seen the example of Tukaram, where he is attending to one of the nature's call and he is chanting Ramanama. The Nama is going on, and the priest of that place passes him by and taps him on the shoulder. What is this? You are attending to nature's call, doing such a lowly act, and you are using the Ramanama. You shouldn't. Should you? And Tukaram says, yes, you are quite right in chiding me. And he forcibly closes his mouth, and from every pore of his body, the Akanta Ramanama is said to have come out with such force that the din, the words used in talks is perhaps the din, could not be stood by the priest, and he said that such rules, that this time you should not have God's name in you, or that place is a bad place to have a God's name in you. All that doesn't apply to great ones like you. You are so full of that Akanda Akara Vritti. In Bhakti, it is called as Akanda Akara Vritti. Obviously, when it is Akanda Akara, it has to be Atma Vritti only. See, when so finally the bhaktas who get absorbed in the Nama, they will come to the end. Can the Nama be Anatma? Can the Nama be something that is felt? Obviously not. So they will be brought to the self-knowledge, though indirectly. As I said, that the path is indirect there, the ego is indirectly still, but then there the Atma Swarupa is said to shine in the pure intellect. Like in the Spatika, how in the pure Spatika the color is seen, how in a clear water surface a light is reflected, just like that, and how in a polished mirror, though in the crystals themselves you cannot see your face, in a polished mirror you can see your reflection. The aham, the Akanda Akara Atma Vritti is felt by the pure intellect, is that verse. So what is the sadhana? Purify the intellect. That is the sadhana indicated. So those who find that verse and its contents appealing can hold on to that and start self-enquiry in all earnest. So that is engume endrum irupinum. ஆன்மாவும் எங்குமே ஆன்மா இலகல் இல்லை. துங்கமாம் புத்தியிலே பொலியும் நிழல் சொச்சமாம். How the reflection is clear in a clear mirror, clear reflecting surface. Just like that, in the pure intellect, in the sharp, razor sharp intellect, I, this Purana is felt, says the Acharya. That is the 17th verse. We go on to the 18th verse. Udal karuvi ullam odu buddhi மாயை விடவேர் அவற்றின் விருத்தி உடனே எவைக்குமே சாட்சியாம் என்றும் ஆன்மாவை அவைக்கு அரசன் போல் அறிக. Now another metaphor which we can understand, assimilate in the Jnana Marga and use it as a help to practice. This is Sakshiyam Avaik Arasan. Avai is of course the king's darbar, the hall in which all the activities take place. Somebody comes and does a stand-up comedy. Somebody comes and does a great natya or a song performance. Two litigants come with a very serious matter of life and death. That is dealt with. The mantris, they come for various kinds of counseling. What is going to be the future of the nation? What part of the penny that is collected goes to which activity? The distribution of the tax revenues, how it is going to take place. All these activities are happening. Now, will the mantri who is coming in for, let's say, the finance planning, will he expect the data to be generated by the king? Absolutely not. He has to do all the groundwork, do all the Excel sheet preparations, bring the briefcase there and present the whole thing to the Avaikarasan. The Avaikarasan will listen and will listen to it like Sakshi, says that unaffected witness. So what are all the activities that are going on in this hall that Bhagavan is saying? Udal karuvi ullam, the body, then mind, buddhi, maya. Maya, what is maya? This whole area of the triad, let us look at it briefly. This whole area of triad, the experience of the seer, seeing, seen, knower, knowing, known, which is what is there in the Udal, Ullam, Buddhi. All these instruments when we use, there is the experiencer, the act of experiencing, and the experienced. In Maya, the whole thing of the triad is seen to be covered up with that dense self-ignorance. What is this dense self-ignorance? In self-ignorance, the triad collapses. That's why in deep sleep, we don't have any experience of the other. And Bhagavan uses it to the best benefit of the listener by every time taking one to deep sleep. Somebody will come with deepest issue. Why the whole world is suffering from Second World War and you are sitting there like that, doing nothing. Is this right? And Bhagavan says, answer will come. And he goes beyond Maya. He goes beyond Maya into the Atmaspurana. He just says the answer will come and goes into the Atmaspurana beyond Maya What happens there to the mind of the questioner, we can't say. The questioner himself says, for 5 minutes, he was expecting Bhagavan to answer, but he had become silent. Everybody was silent. Some more minutes he was thinking, some answer may come. Then he himself becomes quiet. That is, his own anxiety to find answer in the triad as a mental being thinking and receiving an answer from Bhagavan in the mental area, he dropped it. And he was also pulled in beyond the Maya into the Atma Swarupa, and something happens there. And he gets an answer from within. And he says, after half an hour or so, he says, I have got answer. That you, Bhagavan, you are acting in such a plane of unity, such a dimension beyond all these divisions where nations are struggling for self-liberation. You are operating in a dimension which is far beyond this and is bringing a benefit to these dimensions far beyond anything that can be done by any dimension-bound entity. Somebody may be struggling 40, 50 years for liberation, and in that dimension, that is great sacrifice. But then what is the Jnani doing? The Jnani is going to a place beyond Maya, where Maya itself, here the triad of me in a country which is bound is not there. Going beyond Maya into the Atma Swarupa, no, the body is still here in India. What kind of energy it will be bringing in? And what are the dimensions it is touching? We can't say he is going to a place where everything is unified. In deep sleep, in Maya, everything is unified by self-ignorance. In Atma Swarupa, everything is unified by that light of Atma. So we find that the Maya, it is covering the buddhi, it is covering the manas, it is covering the prana, it is covering the indriyas, it is covering the loka. What is Maya? Maya is not knowing yourself. That not knowing yourself is so dense and deep that when you go into that in deep sleep, all these works of body, breath, mind and buddhi, they become all vanish into that darkness of not knowing. What is that you don't know there? You don't know the self. So this whole creation, the created area is said to be covered by the Maya. Indirectly, Buddha says, there is the unborn, there is the uncreated, there is the unbecoming, there is the unfabricated. That is why there is relief from that which is created, that which is becoming, that which is fabricated, that which is put together. The liberation from this is possible is because there is the uncreated. What is this uncreated? It is that which is beyond Maya. It is the self-luminous self. And that self-luminous self is seated like Avaik Arasan, like the Samrat, who is just purveying the activities in the Darbar without getting involved, without getting affected in the least. Where is he seated? He is seated beyond the dyads and triads. Where are the activities happening? The activities are happening in the sensory world, the breath world, the mind, the buddhi. These are the dimensions in which activities are happening. Why are they happening? Because all those are permeated by Maya. The multiple happenings. Very interesting. Oh, you said that day. You must have meant this only. That fellow is such a corrupt person that he should not be approached at all. Now, my revenge against that family, it is going to run for centuries. See, all this is taking place under the coverage of Maya, not knowing, the dense darkness of not knowing yourself. If one understands this, then one strives to go beyond Maya. That there is no point or purpose in being caught in this area of becoming. That I was in point A, I came to point B, my institution was in point A, it has reached point B, something has happened to me. No. All that is in the area of becoming, Whereas the Avaika Arasan, Bhagavan, Ramana is seated within us as the Atma Swarupa. And as Tirnai Swamigal says, that our job is not to come here and have darshan of Bhagavan in the photo or darshan of Bhagavan in the books. Our purpose for having taken birth here and for Bhagavan entering our lives is to be Bhagavan. Tirnai Swamigal says to his mother, mother asks when he comes back from a darshan, did you have darshan of Bhagavan? And Tirnai Swamigal says, Amma, we have not come here to have darshan of Bhagavan. We have come here to identify with the Avaika Arasan, with that king who is seated as a witness, unaffected witness. That aham, aham, aham. The eyes are opened. The mouth is speaking. The body is present in a dimension. But is that I? The observation is that one identifies with the Akanda Rama, is Akanda Atma Swarupa, Akanda Ramana. Now we find that, what did we say? When the Akanda Akara Vritti, the Ramana Nama itself is Akanda Akara Vritti. But then can it be anything other than the self? If it is Akanda, if it is unbroken, because the triads, all the kriyas are all broken up. Now the Akanda Akara Vritti is unbroken. But then that is the power. Akanda Akara Vritti is the power. But what is the Atma? Bhagavan says, hold on to that power, but don't ask anything. Don't ask anything from that power, because you will be gone into the Maya. If you ask anything from that power, you are going to be pushed into the triad. So when you reach this Purana, hold on to it and be quiet, because you should understand, where is this Purana? It is beyond the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Buddhi. It is beyond Maya. It is beyond Maya because self-knowledge is there, but self-knowledge is there as a power. That power has some degree of Maya in it. Because Bhagavan says, this Purana itself is Maya Shakti. So go to the Maya Shakti, but don't ask anything from Maya Shakti. Then the Maya Shakti will become quiet, like fire lit on camphor, says Bhagavan. That it will burn your I am the body idea, and it will also become quiet. Till then, hold on to it and be quiet. What is the reference here? The reference here is that even though these instruments, Udal, Karuvi, Ullam, Udubuddhi, Maya, Idave, Ivatrin Vritti, the combination of Maya and all these instruments, what all play that they have in creating various personalities, in creating various types of achievements and failures, in creating various types of knowledge, in creating various types of healthy and unhealthy bodies in the Pranamaya Kosha, and giving you various sites. When somebody calls Bhagavan, Bhagavan, why don't I arrange a train so that you can go to many parts of India and give darshan? Bhagavan says, what? I don't see anything other than whatever he sees, that other than the self, there is nothing to see. So even if you take me to those places, I don't see anything. Moreover, what will happen to those who come here who want to see me? Therefore, I don't have any intention to come anywhere, because anyway I can't see the differences that the sites give, he says. So the Indriya Jala, that is the work of Maya, the prana activities, that is work of Maya, the manovrittis, which is the work of Maya, the buddhi vrittis, which are the work of Maya, all these are crossed by the Avaikarasan. Who am I? That is why Bhagavan says to Natanananda Swami that Summa Iru. Natanananda Swami says, this Summa Iru seems to be total laziness. The stilling of the eye, is it not laziness? Bhagavan says no. That Summa Iruthal is not laziness. It is not indolence. In fact, it is Mulu Muyarchi. It is complete effort. How it is complete effort? Because all other activities, all other thought processes are done with breaks and with part of the mind. These are the two things. Any other mundane activity is done with part of the mind and with frequent breaks. Whereas to hold the eye and still it, you have to engage the whole mind and it has to be done without breaks. Any break means you are getting a thought. Any break means you have not stilled the eye. Therefore, summa iruttal is mulu muyarchi. What does he say further? All other activities are trapped in Maya. Whereas this activity of summa iruttal, it destroys, it dismantles, it removes Maya, he says. This is the only activity which can directly tackle and remove Maya, the self-ignorance. What is that activity? Inquire who am I and still the eye. Put attention on the eye so that it doesn't move. Use the tapas, use the bhava bala only for that. Summa iruttal. Are you there? Are you not there? You are there. So put attention on that. This simple activity of putting attention on yourself completely decimates Maya, I say. And all the activities in the triads are taking place because of the dark, dense presence of self-ignorance, which is Maya. Whereas, where is the awake arisen? The one who is the self-knowing self. Seeing all these things happening. Oh, why don't you come to this place? Somebody calls. Are we not stuck here? When are we going to achieve this? Somebody says. All that is heard, but one remains as the awake arisen. Completely unaffected by anything in that area. The attempt to go towards this is the most direct path that anyone can take, and Bhagavan himself calls it as Maha Yoga. So that is the practice we are going to undertake for the next 10 minutes. That Bhagavan, of course, takes one beyond the Sakshi also. Bhagavan doesn't stop that the Atma Swarupa is the Sakshi of the activities. He says that the Atma Swarupa has nothing other than itself to see. So Sakshi does not remain as the triad Sakshi in Bhagavan. Sakshi is the self-observant, self-existing, self-luminous, self-content self. So he completes the whole journey by dissolving the last triad left for in the verse. In the verse, it is implied as though the Atma Swarupa is an unaffected witness of the activities of the whole area of triad, whereas Bhagavan takes us one step further and says that dissolve that Triputi into the Atma Swarupa. In the self-luminous self, there is no triad to see. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit for Atma Uchara till 8 o'clock. Then we can listen to Kar. Ujjwalji, you can set the time for us. Namo.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramanaka.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we are meditating on Bhagavan's teachings as it is written by him in Anma bodham. And in these two verses, which have been meditated upon today by Nandakumar ji, we have looked at one aspect of the pure intellect, which Bhagavan defines in the Arunachala Pancharatnam. Tyaktva Vishayam Bahyam Ruddha Pranena Ruddha Manasantasva. In the self-enquiry verse, Ati Amala Dhiya, he says, Ahamiti Kutayati Tyanvishyanta Pravishtaya Ati Amala Dhiya. So he says that even the self-inquiry has to be pursued with a very, very pure mind. In this case, it is mentioned as the sharp intellect. In Ashtottaram, Vishwanatha Swami refers to Bhagavan as Kushagradhi, the one whose intellect is sharp as the blade of a kusha grass, whose intellect can be so sharp. Today, Nandakumar ji also, he gave us the clue that such a sharp intellect is one which is not clouded by likes and dislikes. This is an underlying concept in the Bhagavad Gita. If we see that it is said, don't think about pleasure or pain. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau jaya ajaya labha alabha sukha dukha. Look upon it equally, with equi-mindedness. Such an equi-minded dhi or intellect is one which becomes sharp because it is not clouded. It is unclouded. And the next verse we will hear the phrase Maya. And what is this Maya? It is the complete clouding of the intellect. The pure intellect is able to reflect the self in its purity. And this was explained to us as the Akhandakara Vritti. It is able to reflect the self. But we are told that even that must not be held on to. So these are two stages which are given to us. One is that of the pure intellect. To purify the intellect by freeing it from the pairs of opposites. Because it is the pairs of opposites that hold us in their grip. In another way, we can say it is desire. Any kind of desire holds us in its grip, and the intellect becomes clouded by that desire. It becomes clouded by the need. And the Kumarji also very sweetly told us, I feel I should be like this or I should not be like this. So both are desires. When I want something, it's a desire. When I want to reject something, it is a desire. So Bhagavan is again described by Vishwanatha Swami as Udasena, one who is completely indifferent. And he has said to Vishwanatha Swami, as shared by Ganesh and with all of us, that he told Vishwanatha Swami, you should treat the entire universe as a speck of dust. That means so totally indifferent to whatever happens. In the next example, we got the the king, the look of the king. It is also described in Tamil as Raja Parvai. The Raja Parvai is one, it's the look that is totally equal. Equimindedness is there. It does not weigh something with its own predilections. So such a drishti. Now, when that drishti comes where there is no like, no dislike, it is just the Sakshi Bhava. And that Sakshi is accepting everything. So, what happens if all the thoughts become similar to us? If there is no good thought and there is no bad thought, what would be the need for us to pursue any thought itself? How are we to experience the self? What is it that is standing between us and the self? It is only the veil of thoughts. If there, we are told to drop thoughts through self inquiry, ask for whom is this thought, then the answer will come, it is for me. At that point, the thought gets dropped, then the I thought alone remains. Then we ask ourselves, who is this I? Who am I? Then that thought also dissolves. So the thought alone acts as a veil. How is it that thought acts as a veil for the self? Does the self not exist? Is not the self ever revealed? Even when thoughts are there? Yes, it is ever revealed even when thoughts are there. But our attention, our not only our attention, our dependence is on thought. The whole problem is not the existence of thought. The problem is the clouding, the concept or the Maya that thought can lead me somewhere. Thought can give me something. Thought can save me from something else. Thought can protect me. Thought can fulfill my desires. This is the problem. But if all thoughts are seen to be the same, then what happens in a mind, in an intellect which is pure, which is Ati Amala? what happens? Because it is not worried by the rise of a so called good thought, and it is not worried by the rise of a so called bad thought. All the thoughts become the same. Then, which thought is one to follow? Which thought will be of interest to us? This whole universe of thoughts will be will become like a speck of dust, not even that much. But like the king, like the vision of the king, everything will have significance. That is why Bhagavan continued and told Vishwanatha Swami, treat even a speck of dust as if it is the universe. Treat the whole universe as a speck of dust, but treat even a speck of dust as if it is the universe. How is that possible? That is possible if one has the perspective of the king. The king does not disregard anything. We had a poem in one of our elementary classes that because of the nail, the horseshoe was lost. Because of the horseshoe, the horse was lost. Because of the horse, the soldier was lost. Because of the soldier, the army was lost. Because of the army, the kingdom was lost. So the point was, don't even disregard the fact that one horse does not have one nail in its horseshoe. So everything is significant. When can everything become significant? Only when everything becomes insignificant. If any one thing is significant, then another thing will become insignificant. This difference, sense of difference will creep in. But what is the best way to get to this point of equipoise? To get to that Sakshi, or as Nandakumar ji said, to get to the source, the Aham Spurana. When one gets there, then that is the very Sakshi. It is not the Sakshi Bhava. It is remaining as the Sakshi, which is the Aham Spurana. And then if one remains, already one has been told that one's intellect is pure, clear, there are no more desires clouding it. Then, when one holds on to the Aham Spurana with such a Amaladhi, there will not be any further rise of sankalpas that this is required, that is not required, this may happen, that may not happen. All this will not rise because one has already given oneself to act to the practice of complete acceptance that everything is only a thought. It's all the same. There's nothing good or bad about it. They are all actually, in another sense, if we look at it, like the golden ornaments, all the thoughts are just a chit shakti. They are nothing else. So why bother about this manifestations of the chit shakti when the chit shakti itself is available to us? Nandakumar ji has earlier given us the example of the Sufi woman saint who said, जब घर का मालिक ही मिल रहा है तो घर से क्या लेना? When I am getting the owner of the house with me all the time, why should I be worried about this house or this world? So that's these are some beautiful statements which remain with us. You see, so this is what it is. And when Bhagavan was there, Kanakamma has said when Bhagavan was there sitting in along with them, this is a practical demonstration which has happened. She would say in the morning when we get up, it was so difficult. There will be no water in the well. There will be only mud, only little bit, half an inch or 1 inch of water. If we are not the first person to go to that well, then finished. We do not get the clear water. Somehow we manage to have a bath and wash our clothes, and to take out our clothes from the clothes line. If we tap it with a stick, one snake will fall down from there. And I will tell myself, this is impossible. I cannot live in this place. Today, I will go to Bhagavan and I will tell him, Bhagavan, I am leaving. It's not possible for me to stay here. And she said, go to Bhagavan. After that, where will the mind rise? When one is seated in Bhagavan's Sannidhi, mind will not rise. It won't happen. That Arasan, this awake Arasan is such an Arasan that he includes everyone in that Arasan's drishti. He makes it for everyone. He is that bountiful Arasan who says that even you are Oru Kodai Nidar Kove. You are that Arasan. It is not that I am that Arasan. Everyone is that Arasan. There is only one Arasan, and that is you, and that is I. There are no differences. So Kanakama would say everything would vanish. Such is the grace of Bhagavan that he has pointed out to us the glory of that state. Everything else appears to be glorious. That is the problem. Otherwise, even in a minute, we can get back to the self. It is there, it is available for experiencing all the time. See, even in the previous verse, we are told it is there everywhere and all the time. Even within our own body, we can experience it at any moment. But we are not experiencing it. Why? Because we do not recognize that we are that very emperor, But the moment we recognize that our true nature is that of the monarch of the entire universe and beyond, then we will not no more be drawn to the little tinsels that the mind is offering to us, and we can get back and enjoy that vast beatitude that Bhagavan is offering to us with such abundant grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana.
Namo
That was
Ramana.
wonderful. I had forgotten Rabaya for so many years. You are still remembering.
No, every so often I will remember that quote.